Shannon Sharpe was on top of the world, NFL legend, TV superstar, and about to lock in a $100 million media deal, until it all came crashing down. Rumors hit the net that he secretly dropped $23 million to settle a lawsuit with an OnlyFans model, and Charleston White wasted no time roasting him, calling him a sellout, a hypocrite, and a man who fumbled the biggest bag of his life. Now, Shannon's reputation, his deals, and even his empire hang by a thread. And the question is, can he survive this storm, or is his career officially stained forever?
This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down.
Shannon Sharpe was supposed to be living the dream. The Hall of Fame tight end turned media star had built his second career into something even bigger than his NFL run. From Undisputed with Skip Bayless to his viral club Shay Shay podcast, Shannon was sitting on top of sports media. Corporate deals were coming in, his image was polished, and he was moving like a household name. But then, out of nowhere, the internet exploded with claims that Shannon got caught up in one of the wildest scandals we've seen in sports broadcasting. A $23 million settlement over a lawsuit involving an OnlyFans model named Gabriella Zuniga. The rumors hit like a bomb. Gabriella had accused Shannon of misconduct, and while most cases like this play out slow in court, this one took a different turn. Word started spreading that Shannon had cut a massive check, $23 million, to make the whole thing disappear. And in today's culture, people don't wait for paperwork or trial transcripts. The headline alone was enough. Fans instantly started dragging Shannon online. Why would you pay if you were innocent? If you cut a $23 million check, you hiding something. That's the thing about the internet. Once people smell blood, it's over. Even though Shannon never publicly broke down the case detail by detail, the fact that numbers that big were attached to his name was enough to ruin the image he spent years building. Folks weren't looking at him as the sharp-dressed, quick-talking sports analyst anymore. They were clowning him like he was just another rich dude who got played by a model with a lawsuit and a lawyer. Making it worse, Charleston White, the Texas fire starter who lives off controversy, jumped in the mix and went for Shannon's neck. Charleston didn't just crack jokes. He went live, mocking Shannon for not following his own advice. Shannon's always been the type to tell young athletes to stay out of trouble, to avoid risky women, to protect their bag at all costs. But Charleston flipped that back on him. You out here warning these young boys about snow bunnies, but you the one who cut a $23 million check to one. That kind of shot went viral instantly. Charleston called him weak, said he sold out the culture, and accused him of being fake the whole time. And you know Charleston, he's not careful, he's not polished. He'll say what everyone else is scared to say. He doubled down, clowning Shannon for losing more money in one lawsuit than he ever made in the NFL. And when you check the facts, he's not far off. Shannon played 14 years in the league, won 3 Super Bowls, and stacked accolades. But salaries back then weren't what they are today. His career earnings were solid, but nothing compared to today's stars. The idea that he handed over $23 million in one settlement made people look at him like he blew his whole fortune trying to cover up a mistake. But it wasn't just Charleston's jokes that hurt Shannon, it was the timing. Reports were flying that Shannon was on the verge of a $100 million media deal. His podcast was red hot. He had big-name guests and networks were lining up. Suddenly, that all looked shaky. Nobody wants to invest 9 figures into a host who's trending for lawsuits, payouts, and snow bunny drama. For the first time since he retired, Shannon's brand was in freefall, and the whole internet was watching it play out in real time.
Oh, Shannon Sharpe, he really don't like me. I done call all the football players, man, big old dumb stupid ass. You know, so I done offended and insulted everybody. Yeah. But you gotta understand, homie, I done said some horrible things about Dion and the boys. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this an alumni.
Yeah, that's why.
I said some horrible things about Dion is the modern day Bill Cosby and them boys is Theo Huxtable and yeah, man.
Come on.
He's the
That's
modern day of that. You know, this is who we, so we idolize this family. Dion is the ideal father in the black community. This is, yeah. So, and here I am attacking him in his toe, in his boy.
When the smoke from the $23 million rumor started spreading, the timing couldn't have been worse for Shannon Sharpe. He had just made his high-profile jump from Undisputed to ESPN, linking with Stephen A. Smith on First Take. For months, the move looked like a masterstroke. Ratings spiked, the chemistry with Stephen A. had social media buzzing, and Shannon's brand felt bigger than ever. He wasn't just Skip Bayless's co-host anymore. He was his own star. But as soon as the settlement rumors hit, fans started connecting dots between Shannon's sudden ESPN exit and the scandal. It looked like ESPN didn't want the smoke. This wasn't a DUI or a bad take on live TV. This was a federal lawsuit with allegations of misconduct and hush money vibes. For a company as image-conscious as Disney, having Shannon's name trending next to OnlyFans model and on $23 million payout was a PR nightmare. But by the time he was off the air, the streets were already convinced ESPN had cut ties to protect the brand, not because of contract disputes or creative direction, like the press releases claimed. And then Charleston White took the ball and ran with it. He called Shannon a fraud, straight up saying, "You ain't no role model, you ain't no culture leader. You a sellout who got caught up and tried to buy your way out." Charleston framed Shannon as a hypocrite, the same man who built his platform preaching discipline and responsibility, now caught looking sloppy with lawsuits and payouts. The internet ate it up. Clips of Charleston clowning Shannon went viral overnight. He said Shannon had thrown away more money to a snow bunny than he ever invested back in the black community. He mocked the way Shannon always bragged about his suits and cigars, saying, "Them cigars can't cover up them skeletons." It was raw, it was harsh, and it was everything fans love to repost. Charleston turned Shannon's scandal into a punchline, and once that narrative spread, Shannon couldn't control it. Meanwhile, fans piled on with their own roasting. Memes popped up comparing Shannon to athletes who went broke, even though he wasn't. Jokes flew about Gabriella getting a Hall of Fame payday and Shannon being the first tight end to fumble off the field. Twitter was relentless. Every time Shannon tried to show his face online, the replies were nothing but clown emojis, snow bunny jokes, and Charleston White quotes. But beyond the jokes, there was something deeper. Fans started questioning Shannon's authenticity. Was he really the wise elder who young players looked up to? Or was he just another ex-athlete who let fame and women run his pockets? The settlement rumor cracked the image he spent years polishing. And once your credibility is gone in the media game, it doesn't matter how sharp your takes are. People stop respecting you. Charleston knew that, and he kept pressing. He compared Shannon to folks like Monique and Cat Williams, entertainers who tried to warn the culture about the traps of Hollywood, only to be laughed at. Charleston said Shannon ignored all those warnings, played the corporate game, and thought he was untouchable. Now, with his name in the dirt, Charleston made him the poster child for why selling out never ends well. Whether you agreed with Charleston or not, one thing was clear. Shannon was on the defensive for the first time in years. He wasn't controlling the conversation. The conversation was controlling him. And with ESPN already distancing itself, the whispers about his $100 million media deal slipping away got louder and louder.
You dealing with a young, 20-year-old, conniving, manipulative, low-down, white. I'm talking about a dirty. You all know better, Shannon. Much as you talking, like you say you won't even get on the elevator with a woman by yourself. How you at the gym and you let this 20-year-old, damn near teeny bop, little old young white get you 50 mil?
Obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week, and really the only thing that I really ask is, like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out will overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way.
When Charleston White joked that Shannon Sharpe lost more money to a snow bunny than he ever made in the NFL, Fans laughed, but they also knew there was truth baked in. Shannon played 14 years in the league, stacked 3 Super Bowls, and ended up in the Hall of Fame. But salaries back then weren't anywhere near what players cash in today. By the time his career wrapped up in the early 2000s, Shannon had pulled in somewhere around $20 million in total NFL earnings. A strong number for that era, but when you line it up next to a supposed $23 million settlement, the math looks crazy. That's why Charleston's jab cut so deep. To the culture, it looked like Shannon gave up more in one payout than he earned across his entire NFL career. And even if those numbers aren't 100% confirmed, perception is reality. On social media, the headlines said it all. Shannon Sharpe drops $23 million hush money. And once that narrative spread, it was impossible to clean up. But the money talk didn't stop there. Shannon had spent the last 5 years building something bigger than his NFL legacy. His Club Shay Shay podcast was pulling millions of views, booking guests from Steve Harvey to Cat Williams. Networks were circling him with bags on the table. Reports said Shannon was in position to sign a $100 million media deal, putting him in the same league as Pat McAfee or Joe Rogan. This was supposed to be his biggest win yet, a deal that secured him as one of the most powerful voices in sports media. Now, that dream looks shaky. Who's dropping 9 figures on a host who's trending for lawsuits, snow bunny scandals, and Charleston White roasting sessions? Corporate America doesn't care if the details are true. They care about optics, and the optics around Shannon weren't clean anymore. Fans online made it even worse. Memes started popping up of Gabriela Zuniga as the real Hall of Famer for bagging $23 million without playing a down of football. Some joked she was the first tight end Shannon ever fumbled. The jokes were endless, and every repost chipped away at Shannon's credibility. For a man who built his second career off respect, those jokes hit harder than anything he faced on the field. And here's the deeper issue. Shannon always branded himself as more than just an athlete. He was the wise voice, the storyteller, the example of discipline. He constantly preached to young players about not wasting money, not chasing women, and protecting their image. He held himself up as proof of what happens when you work hard and stay focused. That's why this scandal felt so damaging. It cracked the image he worked years to polish. Charleston White understood that and leaned in. He didn't just call Shannon a hypocrite. He called him a cautionary tale. He said Shannon was what happens when you chase Hollywood validation instead of standing on principle. You thought them suits and them cigars was going to protect you. But they can't protect you from the truth, Charleston said. And whether you like Charleston or not, those words hit because they reflected how fans already felt watching Shannon scramble. The money side of it is what keeps the story hot. Because if Shannon really had a $100 million media deal on the table, this scandal might have cost him the biggest bag of his life. And in today's culture, losing that kind of money over something messy doesn't just make you look weak. It makes you look like a sellout who never learned the rules of the game. By the time Charleston White finished cooking Shannon Sharpe online, the damage was already done. Shannon wasn't trending for his takes on LeBron or his sharp suits. He was trending for snow bunny jokes, memes about $23 million, and accusations of being a hypocrite. And in the world of sports media, where your reputation is everything, that's the kind of stain that doesn't wash out easy. The fallout hit on multiple levels. First, Shannon's credibility took a direct hit. For years, he positioned himself as the elder statesman of sports commentary, the guy who could give players game about discipline, money, and image. Now, the streets are looking at him like, how you gonna tell young players not to fumble when you just lost $23 million off the field? The hypocrisy angle became the loudest part of the narrative. And once Charleston White pushed that button, it went viral. Second, the corporate world started backing away. ESPN was already quick to distance itself, and while Shannon claimed creative differences, everyone knew the timing wasn't a coincidence. Reports of his $100 million media deal started fading into silence. That's how scandals work. The money don't stop because of facts, it stops because of perception. Nobody wants to risk a 9-figure investment when the internet is roasting their host every day. And third, his brand, the Club Shay Shay empire he had been building brick by brick, was now in jeopardy. Sure, he could still get big guests, but the vibe changed. Instead of fans seeing Shannon as a trusted interviewer, Some started side-eyeing him like he was hiding skeletons while pointing out everyone else's. And once that doubt creeps into your brand, it's almost impossible to shake. Charleston White saw this and kept pressing, saying Shannon sold out the culture for corporate checks and snow bunny drama. He painted Shannon as a man who ignored the warnings of folks like Cat Williams and Monique, entertainers who tried to expose Hollywood's traps but got blackballed. Charleston's point was simple. Shannon played the corporate game, thought he was untouchable, and now he's getting exposed just like the rest. Fans didn't hold back either. Social media stayed on his head, clowning him in the comments, dragging him in memes, and reminding him every day that the $23 million scandal would always be attached to his name. Some even compared him to athletes who went broke, even though Shannon's money is still solid. But that's the thing. In the culture, perception matters more than reality. And right now, the perception is that Shannon fumbled the biggest bag of his life. So the big question is, can Shannon bounce back? The answer ain't simple. On one hand, scandals fade. The internet moves fast, and 6 months from now, another celebrity will be trending for something messy. Shannon's talent is real, and he's still one of the most entertaining voices in sports commentary. If he can weather the storm, he might survive this. But on the other hand, this ain't just a scandal. It's a credibility crisis. Shannon's whole second career was built on being sharp, polished, and respected. Now, every time he talks about discipline or money, fans will throw the $23 million rumor back in his face. And when your credibility is gone, it don't matter how loud your voice is. People stop listening. At the end of the day, Shannon's story shows how fast the game can flip. One moment you're sitting on top, the next you're a trending joke. And Charleston White, love him or hate him, made sure Shannon's L was seen by everybody. Whether Shannon fights back or fades out, one thing's for sure, that snow bunny settlement rumor will follow him forever.